Hello Candles, welcome to Candela Learnings. This is me Sharma, your biology tutor. Today we'll be doing the continuation of the last session. But before moving into the topic, let's have a quick summarization on the things which we have learned in the last session. Now, what are the things which we have learned in the last session? Yes, of course, we have learned about the nervous system, right? There, we studied about neurons. And what are neurons? Neurons are the structural unit of the nervous system. Then we said the structure of neuron. A neuron mainly has got three main parts. And what are they? They are the dendrite, the axon, and the cell body. Then we learned about how information passes through neurons and all. And last we said about synapse. Now what is a synapse, children? It is a junction between two neurons. Okay. So I hope the session was clear to you all. Now today we will be learning about the reflex action. Now what is a reflex? What is a reflex, children? It is a sudden action in response to something in environment. Which means what? You are not consciously deciding it to do, or you are not aware of the situation. I'll tell you with an example. Think that you are walking and suddenly an insect get into your eye. What you will do? You will either blink your eyes or you will just wave your hand, right? Or when a bright light enters into your eye, what you will do? There also you will blink your eyes. Is that something which you do intentionally? No, it happens automatically in our body, right? Then what we can say, yeah, when you touch a very hot utensil, what you will do there? You will just keep your hand there and tell, okay, let it burn. No, we are not doing that. What we are doing is we are immediately withdrawing our hand, and when a pin pricks into our finger also, we'll withdraw our hand very spontaneously or very fastly, right? Now, in all these incidents, you can see something is common in all these. And what is it? All these responses are involuntary. Now, what is an involuntary movement or what is an involuntary action? You have already heard the term involuntary. Where you have heard it? You have already studied it into your 9th grade. So, all you have to do is you just have to brush up from your brain. Now, what is an involuntary movement, children? Those actions which are not in our control are known as the involuntary movement or involuntary action, which means you are not conscious about your action, or you are not intentionally doing it, or you are not aware of that situation. So such actions are known as the involuntary action. Likewise, the heartbeat. Can you control your heartbeat? Of course, you cannot control it. It happens automatically in our body. And digestion, we cannot control it. Respiration. So all these actions takes place automatically in our body. So such actions are known as a involuntary action. Now, as a coin has two sides, there are also two type of actions seen in our body. If one is involuntary action, what will be the other one? It is known as the voluntary action. Now, what is a voluntary movement, children? Those actions which are in our control are known as the voluntary movement. Such as we can move our body parts according to our wish, right? There is no one to control us. We're able to move it freely. I can walk to wherever I wish to go. I can stop my talking whenever I wish. So all these actions are being controlled by we only. So such actions are known as the voluntary actions. I hope it's clear. Now let's come back to reflex action. So here, reflex action, it is also involuntary. But here in reflex action, there is a slight difference from other involuntary action. And what is it? In reflex action, there we requires a stimulus. So this is the one which differentiate a reflex action and an involuntary movement or an involuntary action. Now what I said? Reflex action, it requires whom? It requires a stimulus. Now, what is a stimulus? Stimulus is an external agent. Okay, so we can tell it with an example. So, when I said when a pin pricks into our finger, we will withdraw our hand, right? So, who is acting as a stimulus here, or why we are withdrawing our hand? Because the pin has pricked into our finger. So, that pin is the stimulus here. It is because of that pin you are withdrawing your hand. So, pin is the stimulus here. Now, when a bright light enters into your eye, you will blink your eyes. So, what is the stimulus here? Yes, of course, it is the light. So when the light enters only, you are blinking your eyes. So it is an external agent. So for a reflex action to happen, what we require is, we requires a stimulus. If that is the case, how we can define a reflex action? So we can define a reflex action as, reflex action is a sudden and involuntary response to a stimulus. So what is a reflex action? It is a sudden involuntary response to a stimulus. So here you have to stick on to three words. And what are they? It should be sudden, which means it should be very quick. Then it should be involuntary. We have already said it. What is an involuntary movement? Then what it requires, the one of the most important thing is, it requires a stimulus. If there is no stimulus, then it is not a reflex action. I hope it's clear. So we can say that it's different from other involuntary processes because reflex action requires whom, children? It requires a stimulus. So the question here is, how can you respond to something without even conscious about it or without even aware of it? Let's see it with the help of an example. So children, when you touch a hot object, what you will do? You will immediately withdraw your hand. So how this is possible? That is what we are discussing here. So I just want all your attention to be on the screen. Okay. Now in the screen, you can see a very hot utensil. Then there is an arm and also there is a cross section of a spinal cord. So now we'll see the mechanism of the withdrawal of the hand. Okay, let's see to it. So when you touch a very hot object, that temperature, it is being detected by a neuron which is present in your arm. Okay, so what I said, when you touch a very hot object, that temperature or that heat, it is being detected by a neuron which is present in your arm. Now what the neuron does is, the neuron, it converts that heat or that temperature into another form, and what is that form? It converts into an electrical impulse. Okay, so the neuron, it converts the heat into an electrical impulse. Then what the neuron does is, it immediately gives that electrical impulse to the spinal cord. Okay, now where is our information present or our impulse is present? It is present in the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, this information, it is being taken by another neuron which is present in the spinal cord only. So the information which the spinal cord received, it is being taken by another neuron which is present in the spinal cord only. You can see that small neuron. Then what happens? It will immediately send that information to where? To where, children? It will give that information to the brain. So this is what happens all the time. But in reflex action, there is a slight twist here. So in reflex action, it will not go to the brain. Here the brain is not giving any command because we know that the brain is the one who controls and coordinates all the functions in your body. We can say that he's super busy. So the brain is telling that I have a lot of work to do. You please ask someone else. Now, what we will do? We are facing such a very dangerous situation, so our body will not allow us to burn for a long time. So there is someone to help us out, and that is the spinal cord. Here in reflex action, the spinal cord is the decision maker in our body. The spinal cord decides what to do. The spinal cord says that don't worry, I'm here to help you out. And what the spinal cord does is, the information from the neuron which is present in the spinal cord gives that information or that electrical impulse to another neuron which is present in the spinal cord only. Okay, we already said that now the information, it is present in the spinal cord. It is being carried by a small neuron. From there, that information, it is taken by another neuron which is present in the spinal cord only. I hope it's clear. Then what happens? This neuron will immediately send the signal directly to the muscle of our arm, and hence we withdraw our hand. Okay, so this is the mechanism behind the reflex action. So we can discuss it once again. What is happening here is, First of all, the hot object, it was being detected by a neuron which is present in your arm. Then what happens? This neuron converts that signal into another form of an electrical impulse. Then this electrical impulse, it is carried to where? It is carried to the spinal cord. And from the spinal cord, this signal, it is taken by another neuron, and what happens? Will it go to the brain? It will not go to the brain. And who else is there to help us? It is the spinal cord. Then what happens? The signal from one neuron of the spinal cord, it immediately gives the signal to another neuron which is present in the spinal cord only. Then what happens? This neuron will immediately give the signal to where? To the muscles, and hence we withdraw our hand. So here it will not wait for the brain to give us command or to give us information. So this is what the process behind the withdrawal of the hand. I hope it is clear to you all. When we said about this mechanism, we have said there are some neurons involved in it, right? Now what are the name of those neurons? The neuron which is present in the arm, it is known as the sensory neuron. So sensory neuron is the one who catches the information and gives it to the spinal cord. Okay, so that neuron is known as the sensory neuron, or that long neuron is the sensory neuron. Then what happens? From the sensory neuron, it is being given to another neuron which is present in the spinal cord. You can see that very small neuron, and that neuron is known as the relay neuron. Okay, then from the relay neuron, the information, it is being taken up by another neuron which is present where? Which is present in the spinal cord only. And what is that neuron known as? It is known as the motor neuron. Okay, so this motor neuron, it causes movement or it causes motion. It is because of this motor neuron we are withdrawing our hand. So these neurons are our helpers in withdrawing our hand. Okay, I hope it's clear to you all. So while talking about reflex action, you should definitely know what is a reflex arc. Now, what is a reflex arc, children? The pathway through which the information or the impulse passes is known as the reflex arc. That is, the information, it goes from the sensory neuron, then it goes to the relay neuron, and finally it goes to the motor neuron and all, right? So that pathway is known as the reflex arc. So how you can describe a reflex arc? A reflex arc means it describes the pathway in which the nerve impulse is carried and the response is generated. Okay, so this is all about today's session. I hope it's clear to you all. Now in this session, what we have studied? We have studied about the reflex action. And what is a reflex action? It is a sudden, involuntary response to a stimulus. So as I told earlier, you have to stick on to 3 words. It should be sudden, it should be involuntary, and then it requires a stimulus. Then we studied the mechanism behind the reflex action, and finally we have learned about the reflex arc. So that is all about today's session. I hope it's clear to you all. We can meet on the next session. Thank you and have a nice day.